Welcome to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by FitAid. Coming into the game, the Warriors were 29th in the NBA for turnovers. They averaged 16 per game. How about a hot 23 turnovers tonight? We saw the Warriors have a great game against the Spurs. They backed it up on the road with one that was just perplexing. Lots of shoot yourself in the foot kind of moments, Monte. What did you make of it?
We've seen a lot of that this season, where the Warriors go into a game against a compromised opponent. In this case, DeMar DeRozan was not available for the Bulls, and they go out and they fall behind early. They did that again, and they catch up. They did that again, and they fall behind again, and they don't catch up. It's 43 games into the season now, and so at some point you look at the record and you say, is this who the Warriors are? Well, right now, there's nothing to dispute that this is not who they are. It is who they are. And that doesn't mean it's going to be who they have to be for the rest of the season, but it's who they've been up to this point, and they've been unable to snap out of it. So when you give up that many points off turnovers, 31 in this case, and they've had a number of games where they've given up a quarter of the team's points have come off turnovers, their opponents. And so when you play that kind of basketball, it's really hard to win the NBA. It's really hard to win at any level. And so the Warriors, what they can't afford to do is keep doing this. And the reason why it's so important now is because they've always had turnover issues. We know that. That's been kind of a constant theme, even during the great years. But those teams are so good, they can overcome that. Yeah. This team does not have that sort of margin for error. They can't do this and continually win games. So they've been around 500 all season, and they're going to stay right there unless they can fix this.
Some of this goes hand in hand because the Warriors are typically first or second in the league in assists. Right. So there's lots of ball handling here, but then these kind of turnovers, these same kind of mistakes, that's what's a lot of trouble. And then the first quarter, the Warriors had 7 turnovers. So right away, they start playing from behind. The Bulls had a 35-20 lead at the end of the first quarter. Warriors reduced the turnovers. They took a lead at halftime. Warriors had 7 turnovers in the third quarter. Bulls regained the lead. So it's like some of this stuff is starting to feel pretty predictable.
Yeah, you don't want to expect it, but you see it so often, it does get that way. It's like, oh, okay, you're watching that. You got 3 primary ball handlers. They had 18 turnovers. Steph had 8, Draymond had 6, and Jordan Poole had 4. If that's going to be the way you run your offense, you're going to have a hard time scoring, and you're going to give the other team a lot of easy buckets. Yep. And you saw the Bulls have in breakaway points. They had 18 break points, but they had 56 points in the paint. You'll look at this game and you'll see Vucevic scored 43 points, and you'll say, "Whoa, that's who killed the Warriors." No, it's deeper than that. Yeah. It's deeper than that because a lot of those points came off of the Warriors' mistakes. And so the Warriors can look at, they've lost 22 games now. They can look at 8, 10 of those games and say, you know what, here's where we lost it. And it'll be turnovers and just mistakes that they know they should be better than.
Yeah, we'll talk about Vucevic later in the show, but there was a play in the fourth quarter, and I was watching some body language. It was a turnover, and I said, they're going to lose this game. This was the moment when I knew that they were going to lose this game. I believe Jordan Poole was the ball handler. Jordan Poole had 4 turnovers in this game, and this isn't to pick on him because, Steph Curry had 8. Draymond Green had 6. But then right here, when the Bulls make use of it, Vucevic right here. Look at Draymond right here. That's when I knew. And he's frustrated. I mean, he tried to stay calm right there, but that's the moment when I knew this game was over.
There were several moments in this game where you saw, you know what, it's starting to get to him a little bit because when you make the same mistakes, even if it's you, as a veteran player, you're telling yourself, I'm better than this, but I just did that. Yeah. And so you got to live with that. You can't wipe it away. You got to keep playing because that's the whole mentality. But you can't. You know that if you do that, winning is going to be really elusive, and that's what the Warriors are finding out.
Let's hear from Steph Curry, who, with the 8 turnovers, 20 points, 10 rebounds, it could have been a very dubious triple-double there. But Steph's trying to make sense of some of the same things that we see from this Warriors team.
Just not doing it, whatever the reason is. I think, like you said, it's just all the mistakes are happening at the wrong times, whether it's to start the game or when you start to build momentum within a specific, part of the game and go on a run where you give the other team life, breakdowns on defense. It used to be offensive rebounds, and now it's kind of crept in a little bit. So A lot of issues, but, you know, from a leadership standpoint, we have a lot of faith that we can. Like nobody's, calling it quits on trying to figure it out. It's just a matter of can we do it or not, and we're gonna keep trying until proven otherwise.
Which is like collective, like defensive effort on a possession by possession basis compared to last year.
I think the effort is. The effort feels like it was there, especially these last two games. It's just when the effort meets IQ meets execution. That's where we gotta get all three of those working at the same time, and then then that should help us. But tonight, you give Vucevic, being able to just line up threes, and that's not just the bigs. That's the guards break down on pressure on the ball, understanding the game plan where we need to send the ball so that we have built-in help. Just too easy out there. So between him, Levine going for 70 together, like you're not gonna win any games playing like that. So that's just a collective commitment to what we're trying to do.
Great to hear from Steph. After this, we just learned Draymond sat down on the podium as well. Before we get to Draymond, I do want to mention that he picked up his 13th technical in this game. So you can reach 15 without penalty. Well, you get fined. But then you fall off the cliff. If you get your 16th technical, that is a suspension. You can see Andre shaking his head because Draymond picked up that technical from the bench. Right. And we don't know what happened there. We don't know what was said.
Yeah. Well, Andre didn't seem to think it was warranted, but, again, we don't know.
Yeah.
So. But if you're Draymond, sometimes you're going to get texts that may not be warranted for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody else is not warranted, but you're Draymond, you get the tease. So he's got to be careful. But, we talk about this a lot because of Draymond, because the number keeps rising. But he's yet to reach a point in his career where it's cost the Warriors a game because he couldn't be out there for suspension. I mean, obviously the 2016 playoffs were different. That was a different situation. That wasn't like an accumulation. That was a number of things that going on there. But in the regular season, you haven't seen it. So, he's got some, the rope is really small now. It's really
tiny.
Short now.
Yeah.
It's short now. He's got to go, almost 40 games, with 2 more technicals to go before he pays a price. Before he pays a price with suspension. He's going to pay for all of these.
It's impossible because he'll get reputation tax.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Again, because he's been so close so many times and haven't gone over, I'm not going to count him out yet. But I understand the trepidation that he'll be able to stay within that 15 limit.
With apologies, Draymond, I'm going to count you out because some of this is out of your hands. Some of this is previous relationships with referees. Some of it's like how the referee is feeling some night. When Draymond has 13 technicals in 43 games, it's going to be extremely difficult, I think, for him to avoid a suspension.
There's this too. The way this Warriors season has gone.
Yeah.
Man, anything is possible because a lot of things that you wouldn't think would happen have happened.
Yeah.
So you can't take anything off the board and say, "Oh, that could never happen. That could never happen," because they've been swept by the Pistons and the Magic. Yeah. Anything can happen.
I want Draymond to be Draymond, and technicals are part of that. I just don't. I don't see it personally. All right, let's hear from Draymond, who spoke after this game.
I don't know how many turnovers we had, but it felt like we had a bunch of them. Yeah, it felt that way. I think felt like we could get a lot of anything we wanted on the offensive end. When we took care of the ball, and we didn't do a very good job of that, and they got a lot of transition points.
Defensively, I know some of that is runouts and stuff off the turnovers. Obviously, Vucevic gets 40-something. Just where were the breakdowns?
I don't think we were very good in coverage. The ball got to the middle a lot. When the ball gets to the middle, it breaks your defense down, and then Vucevic gets a lot of catches without a body in front of him, or someone closing out. He shot the ball really well. So okay, 1 second, okay. So we gotta contain the ball better at the point of attack. That's on the guy who's guarding the ball and the guy who's guarding the screener. But they were breaking the defense down too easy.
sorry, Steph was in here saying, I guess Clay said that zero concern, as long as we get to the playoffs healthy, that's all we need. Steph said, maybe that's the case in years past, that just there isn't a stretch that we can point to this season to say, yeah, at least we proved that we figured it out, and it just has to click at the right time. Where do you kind of sit on?
No, I told y'all before, we got some figuring out to do. It's not just like we're going to click a button and it's going to work. There's a lot of things that need to be figured out. And do I have the confidence that we can win? Yeah. But a lot of things got to be figured out.
What are the defensive, bigger picture problems that we need?
Like I said, we got to contain the ball. Defense starts at the point of attack. And we've had times where we're good at the point of attack, but we're not consistent enough, consistently good at the point of attack. And until we are, we'll have times where we're good and we'll have times where it's awful. And that's pretty much what it's been.
Totality for you guys to figure it out and trying to string together good decision after good decision.
I wish I had the answer for you. But it's ringing in my head probably just the same way it's ringing yours. So I don't know.
Before?
Yeah, absolutely. And at a point where you feel like we turned the corner. So still think that point will come, but you got to build towards it. You can't take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. That never works. So it has to be a constant build. And then after a constant build, then you have one and you're like, okay, or 2 where we took a couple steps back, but it has to start with a constant build, and that constant build has not started.
If you've ever been there, does it remind you of a couple seasons ago where you guys just sat at 500 basically the whole season?
And then I felt like we turned the corner, right? Like, got to the play-in and we lost, but it felt like we kind of turned, and so that's exactly what I was talking. Like, yeah, I felt like we have before and we turned, but this one, like I said, it has to start somewhere. And it hasn't really started. I feel like it's starting and then it's not. Need some help? And then, like I said, it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Oh, I wonder if she was going to say goodbye for him as she reached for the microphone. That's Draymond Green and his daughter, Cash. We have a question in the comments, which I think we should get to coming off of that technical conversation. What happens if Draymond reaches the suspension? That would be 16 technicals. He's at 13. Can he just rack up more technicals after that?
Yeah, he gets after that, then every second technical is another suspension.
Okay.
So if you get to 18, that's a second suspension. If you get to 20, it's a third suspension.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so it's every other one. So it just keeps going as long as you rack up technical fouls. I don't know what the record for technical fouls in a season is.
Not one that they want to
But
know.
yeah, but that's not something that Draymond wants to
Or
touch.
Draymond wants to touch. All right, so the Warriors now 21 and 22. What is the likelihood of them even reaching 50 wins this season?
Oh, no, I think that ship has sailed. I mean, you're talking about you got to go 29 and 9.
They can't get any ground right
Yeah.
now. You see a good game and then a not great game,
Yeah,
and you know all the reasons why.
Yeah, it'll take some magic to get to there now, and I'm not going to count that because it just seems like this feels more like the season when 2 years ago when they were trying to fit Kelly Oubre Jr. in, and they're trying to get things together, and they never quite got it together, and so they got the play-in game. Yeah, they got to the play-in game, and guess what killed them in those play-in games? Turnovers. So that's what this feels like. And again, you can't say, well, they'll shake out of it. And like Draymond is saying, you don't just snap out of something like this. You realize you've been bad for half a season, and you're still bad. Yeah. So it's not like, okay, tomorrow we'll be fine. That's not even, that shouldn't even be on the radar. Yeah. You can, and I understand Clay's confidence, but how can you just, say, look at these games and say, well, we get to the playoffs, we'll be fine. No, you might be fine. You have that experience and you've been there before. You know what to do in the postseason. But if you keep playing with this bumpy sort of schedule where win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss, you keep doing that, Like, you're not building anything. And last season, they had a tough stretch, as we know, in the second half of the season, but they finished with a 5-game win streak. And they rode into the playoffs. They had some momentum, and they rode that, along with their experience, to a championship. This team is not that team.
Yeah.
You gotta
Based
figure that
on
out.
what we've seen this season, those flip a switch days for the Warriors might be over, and they need to do
Yeah.
themselves
No,
some
not
more
happening.
favors by getting these wins in the regular season. All right, I mentioned we're going to have a conversation about Nikola Vucevic, because what if the Warriors had somebody like him in their front court? Let's talk about it. We'll be right back on Dubs Talk, brought to you by Fit Aid.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Fit Aid Clean Energy and Sports Recovery, the energy drink for athletes. Fit Aid Energy is naturally sweetened with only 15 calories, no sucralose, no aspartame, and no compromises.
All right, guys, going into the YouTube, we have some Bob Myers
Probably Rasheed Wallace.
comments. Sheed? What about Sheed?
No, but the highest technicals on the season?
Oh, probably Sheed.
Yeah, I'm going to say Sheed probably, I'm going to say high 20s.
Oh, my goodness. Some Bob Myers talk
Oh, he went over 30.
right now.
Oh.
Somebody just knew that off the tip of their tongue.
Yeah, it's been looked at.
No Cap says, I'm ready for what Lakeup has this offseason. I'm fine with Draymond being gone and Bob Myers saying goodbye. Ooh. No, neither of those
Well-
two things are a lock. Bob Myers still doesn't have a new contract for next season. I think he's trying to figure out what he wants and where the money is. Joe Lacob said they're still negotiating. Draymond is not out the door, although you're probably referring to that the writing is on the wall comment he gave Taylor Rooks in the Bleacher Report podcast.
Draymond Green and Bob Myers have been essential portions of what this team has done. If one were to leave, it would hurt.
Yeah.
If both were to leave, it would really hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that because whether it's if Bob leaves and Draymond stays, that's going to hurt. But if Bob stays, that's a big thing, because Bob is someone who can work the organization from top to bottom. He can go to Joe Lacob, and he can go to the last guy on the bench.
He's a buffer to some degree
Yeah,
between a lot of these
he
folks.
is a guy that
Yeah.
really kind of makes that place go and he's the conduit for a lot of communications there. And he's the guy who can go to Steve, go to Joe, go to Peter, go to whoever he needs to go to Steph. And so that would be a massive loss. Draymond, I don't know which loss would be bigger. I mean, that's how big it is.
Yeah. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit Aid Energy. It has clean canteen in that can. It'll help you out with a jolt of energy. All right, let's talk about Andrew Wiggins, 11 points in this game, but I want to look at a collective of what he did in the past 3 games, because since he's returned from his illnesses and the groin injury, it's been a little down for Andrew. He's in 3 games, he's 16 of 46 from the field, it's 35%, 4 of 20. 20% from 3. What do you think could help Andrew Wiggins get going a little bit more?
More reps.
Okay.
More. He'll be fine. I mean, he was having a spectacularly efficient offensive season before he went down, shooting over 40 from 3. And so I think he's taking the rust off. I would think he needs another game or 2 before he can get back to where he was. But right now you can tell he hasn't played in over a month, and it shows.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we touched on Wiggins, but really this Vucevic conversation, when a guy has 43 points and 13 rebounds, okay, that's massive. It ties his career high. He averages 17 and 11 this season. So he played way beyond his averages. But who do the Warriors have who can contend with him? You're talking about Kevon Looney, who's 6'9", Draymond Green, who's 6'6", and then a bunch of injured guys, okay? Wiseman, J. Michael Green, even J.K. and Andre playing the 5 sometimes. I look at this and I think, what if the Warriors had a center like this? And he can shoot the 3. There's an example right there. This is kind of one of those games that shows me the Warriors are missing depth in that spot.
Well, the Warriors don't have a big who can shoot the 3 like him. In today's NBA, if you don't have a big that can shoot 3s, you're at a disadvantage. They are that team. They are at a disadvantage because they don't have that guy. Wiseman might be able to go into that guy because he has a nice shooting touch. He can probably get there. But Vucevic is one of those guys that can score, but generally speaking, he is what they call barbecue chicken on the other end.
Oh my goodness.
You know, he can't guard me. And
Okay.
so most teams are able to take advantage of that and exploit the fact that he can't defend because he's slow. But the Warriors don't really have the personnel to best do that. And a lot of his shots in this game came off Warriors' mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, you turnover, he gets an open three because the defense is not organized.
Also, Monte, I want to point this out. This is an observation from Sam in a conversation with Rick here. Draymond had to sub in for Lamb, and garbage time is about 40 seconds left because they didn't have enough bodies when Lamb fouled out. You really see it right there. And then check out this zinger. More podcast than front court players available right now. Shaking my head. Yikes.
It's
But
not
yeah,
untrue.
They need some bodies.
Yeah,
I mean, the Warriors thought.
yeah.
Go ahead.
JK, his return is imminent. And the Wiseman is a little further, and Jermichael's probably a little further. But they could possibly both be back by before the end of this road trip, maybe. But right now, this is what you're dealing with. And a trade, if you make a trade now, what do you trade to get another big man? Then what do you do with the big men that are going to come back? You know, so it becomes it's a sticky situation right now.
It is sticky because the Warriors, when they used that number 2 pick on James Wiseman, a 7-footer, they thought they would have their guy who looked like a true center in this league.
At some point in
and
his
of course,
league,
he had to
yes.
grow into his body. He
Yes.
had to bulk up, those sorts of things. James Wiseman's path hasn't fit that plan because of the injuries that he's had to deal with. Now it feels like the Warriors are stuck, and they're putting a lot of mileage on Draymond and Kevon.
Yeah, because they don't have a choice. You know, they didn't look at the season and say, wow, we're really deep at center, but they thought, okay, if
they
we're
had
healthy,
enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we're healthy, we'll be fine. But, you know, you got 5 guys and they consider Jonathan Kuminga a big, even though, again, I'm not sure that's where he'll end up, but that's where his skill set is.
Yeah.
Because he can't shoot the 3. So he has to be a big. Jermichael Green is the one big they have on this roster. You look at it and say, maybe he can make a 3 on a regular basis, 35, 40%. That's his career number. Draymond is not a threat from 3, but he can make 3s.
Yes.
Loon doesn't even shoot them.
No.
You know, so.
No. Loon 4 of 4 tonight, though. He's very efficient from where he does play. Yeah.
Vucevic is guarding him.
Yeah.
So Looney can score on Vucevic because Vucevic can't stop anybody.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Vucevic game tonight is that he got a lot of easy money through the Warriors' mistakes, and the Warriors' lack of depth really showed up in that way. But I think it's going to show up against any team in any game when they make so many mistakes on the offensive end.
Easy money, tying a career high. That is tough for this team. All right, when we come back, we need to preview a special coming up called 4 Golden Rings and that trip to the White House. It's next on Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit Aid.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Fit Aid Clean Energy and Sports Recovery, the energy drink for athletes. Fit Aid Energy is naturally sweetened with only 15 calories, no sucralose, no aspartame, and no compromises.
Tube.
26 days.
I have this question, though. This actually came via text from a friend who watches the show.
25 days.
Do you think Steve Kerr is playing the second unit more so they can showcase talent before the trade deadline?
You know, not at the willingness. He's not willing to sacrifice games. You know, so
They need to win.
Yeah,
win.
they're trying to win games. So I don't think there's any showcasing going on because they're not in a position to showcase.
Yeah.
You know, if they were higher in the standings, maybe they could do that. But right now, they're fighting to be a top 6 seed, and they haven't been at top 6 seed all season. Well, the first week, but since then they've been 8 and 10 and 11 and 9, and so. They got to 6 briefly, but that's as far as they've gone so far, and that's a shaky situation. So I don't think that he's showcasing guys because he's not in a position to showcase.
They don't have the
guys.
cushion right now
No,
to
they don't.
do that.
They don't.
No. All right. Oh my goodness, we've got somebody saying GSW doesn't deserve the playoffs. That's a
The way they're playing,
pretty, I mean,
you
they're
could say
borderline
that.
playing right now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Christopher, 23 turnovers, lack of energy, lack of passion. The lack of passion or starting the game slow, that is a little concerning.
Yeah, that is. I think the passion, I saw passion in spurts tonight. first half of the first quarter was not good. They got a little better at some point in the quarter, and over the rest of the game, I didn't think it was passion. I thought it was execution. Yeah. They just didn't play good, smart basketball, and it showed.
Something's off when you've got Steph Curry with 8 turnovers, and he deserves the games where he gets to be human. But yeah, 8 turnovers is one of those nights he'd like to forget, especially because he only had 4 assists.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit 8. All right, it's 4 rings, okay? 4 rings. That's how many they won in this dynasty. I threw in a gold in there. Hey, why not? Monte did considerable work on this. It's kind of a revisit of last season, starting with Clay Day, and this special program will premiere tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's approximate right after Warriors post-game live. It's going to give you goosebumps. What did you think working on that one, Monte?
It was a fun sort of experience, you know. I mean, when the producer, Sean Madison, came to me with the idea, I was like, you really want to do this? You know, I mean, for me, it felt a little self-promoting.
Well, it's reviewing your work over the season.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but that work tells a story.
But it's mostly about what this team was able to accomplish when nobody thought they could do this. You know, right. I think the Warriors going into last season thought, maybe we can do this, maybe. But I think the rest of the NBA is like, I think their window may be closed.
Nope, they did it. And guess what? They're going to the White House.
Yeah,
the Warriors go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to be there, too. I want to show you all of the behind-the-scene things, and you can see it live. It's going to be streaming Tuesday at 11:45. That's when President Joe Biden is introducing them at the East Wing. Jokes will ensue, I'm sure. And actually, it made me happy to see Draymond's daughter with him at the podium. And at the last game, we saw he brought DJ to the podium. So if families are on this trip, what an amazing opportunity for them. This will be the first time they go back to the White House since February of 2016.
Yeah. No, it's a great experience for the team. And for the guys who've been there before, they can appreciate it. But the guys who've never been there before, they should really appreciate it. Just savor this moment.
Yeah.
Savor it.
Yeah. I mean, you have a kid from Congo, okay, Jonathan Kuminga. You have a Canadian in the mix. You've got Andrew Wiggins getting one of the biggest honors in the land from what, as you said, might have been an improbable season, an improbable championship run.
Yeah, a year ago, nobody would have guessed that they would be at White House visiting the White House this year, because you didn't see them winning the NBA championship. But once they got there, you saw how they did it. And I think once they got there, you thought, okay, they can pull this off, because they're comfortable in the postseason.
They are.
More than any other team in the league. And that makes a difference. This season, getting there is going to be tough, and some of those other teams are closing that comfort zone.
Yeah, they've built a dynasty, 4 championships in 8 seasons. That does matter. Can the Warriors show the things that matter in the regular season that help you out getting to the playoffs?
It's been tough.
I sure hope so. All right, 2 back-to-backs in this remaining schedule. They play the Wizards next, and then the Celtics and the Cavs. That does it for Dubs Talk, brought to you by Fit Aid. We'll see you again soon, tomorrow. Oh. All right, friends. What do we have in here? These buckets. We're talking about the Lakers right now in here. I don't know.
They're better than the Lakers.
I don't know how that.
The Lakers don't. I don't think the Lakers make the playoffs this year. But yeah, I think the Warriors will get there. But
hang on, let me pull up the standings real quick.
No, they're much better than the Lakers are this year, but I just don't know if the Warriors can get to the top 6.
Okay, the Lakers are 19-23. The Warriors are 21-22. So there's not a lot of separation between them, but as far as differences in seasons, it does feel like the Warriors are in a better position. Yeah,
they are. I mean, one below 500. You know, the Warriors need another good spell. They won 5 in a row in the last homestand, and they thought they had turned the corner.
A game like this would have helped the spell. It would have been, two wins on the road for the first time this season. Maybe like backing up your great win against the Spurs.
And the road. I mean, tomorrow's the Wizards aren't tough, but it'll be a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And they'll be without Clay, so probably without Andre.
Probably without Andre.
And then you leave and you go to Boston and Cleveland.
Tough.
So let's just say this road trip is going to end with a real 1-2 punch, and then they come home and play the Nets.
It never gets easier.
The Grizzlies aren't far behind.
Never gets easier. Okay, well, on that note, friends, sleep well, and we'll see you. We'll see you here tomorrow. Not me, I'll be flying, but Monte will hold it
Sleep
down.
well.
All right, bye.
Take care.